Hi class, this is a little video for the diet analysis part 2. So I think you can see my screen, and right now I have the instructions open. The goal of this project is to make the healthiest diet based on your DRI recommendations. So you'll be using the diet analysis software just like you did in part 1, except this time you only have to make a 1-day meal plan, so not 3 days. The goal of this meal is to be as healthy as possible, like I just said. So it's really important not to put things like soda, chips, Snickers bar, bacon, fries, pizza, ice cream, all those things. Even if you would normally eat them, just try to leave those out of your perfect diet for this experience. Once you think you have made your perfect diet, you're going to go to your Diet and Wellness Plus and click on the intakes versus goals report. This is the report you're going to be turning in. And so you're going to click on that and see how close you are to the DRI. This is an important thing. You do not have to be 100% of the DRI. So, for example, if I go to this very last page, this is the grading rubric, and this states how close you have to be within the DRI. This should actually say 25 to 35 grams of fat or of fiber. But anyways, for calories, you need to be within your new goal range, which if you remember from part 1, you took your DRI for calories, you subtracted 250 and you added 250 to get your range. Protein, you can be between 100 and 150%. Carb, 100 to 150%. Fat within DRI goal range or less. Saturated fat, equal or less than DRI. Monounsaturated fat within new goal range. The monounsaturated fat had the same goal as the saturated fat, but you could also multiply the saturated fat times 1.5. And this is on the instructions. This is the same exact thing you did for part 1. However, many of you guys missed that on part 1. I corrected it in the comments of your grading. So go review your part 1 and see if you got correct answers for your calorie range and your monounsaturated fat range. If you didn't, I would have corrected it for you, and so you can see how I did that work. Cholesterol, this is slightly an older recommendation, so I actually usually just give you the cholesterol points. Water, you want to make sure you're getting enough water. Calcium, potassium, sodium. So what you see here is that not every single nutrient is on here. These are the ones you're being graded on: calories, protein, carb, fat, saturated fat, mono, cholesterol, dietary fiber, water, calcium, potassium, sodium. And they have different amounts of points. So the one that's worth the most points is the calories. You absolutely want to get your calories in goal. Otherwise you lose 15 points, which is 15% of the whole project. Protein, carb, etc. If you want to get extra credit, you can make the absolute perfect diet where you meet all the DRI goals. For the micronutrients, you can go over the DRI as long as it doesn't exceed the UL. So if you meet all of your DRI goals for every micronutrient, you can get 20 points extra credit. The sugar analysis is going to be very similar to what you did in part 1, but you're going to look at the calories coming from empty calorie sweets, and they should be a low percent of your total intake. The easiest way to get all of the points on the sugar analysis is by not adding any empty calorie sweets. So don't add candy, don't add soda, don't add Gatorade, don't add ice cream, don't add lollipops, things like that. The protein source comparison, you're going to get 5 points for calculating what part of your protein came from animal foods and what part came from plant foods. If you have more of your protein coming from plant foods, you're going to get 5 more points. So that's how you can get the max points with the protein, and then you're going to write your thoughts about it for 5 points. Other things you get points on, this is almost redundant because you get points for doing it and for making them, but the new goals, like I said, these were calculated in part 1 of the assignment. So you're going to enter your calorie goal, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, and alcohol goal. You did this in part 1. The instructions are identical. And so you're going to do it again. Hopefully you did it correctly. If not, go review the feedback for part 1. The alcohol for women should be less than 15 grams. For men, it should be less than 30 grams. And the calories will be a range. Starting at the DRI, you'll subtract 250, you'll add 250. The polyunsaturated fat will be the same as your saturated fat goal, and the monounsaturated fat will be your saturated fat goal. That's the beginning of the range, and then you multiply this by 1.5 to get the end of the range. So the polyunsaturated fat is just one number. All of the instructions for every single part of that assignment are listed here. And some of them are very similar to part 1. What the tricky thing about this is you may make your ideal report and what you think is your perfect diet, and then it might not actually be a perfect diet. So for example, if I go to this Diet and Wellness Plus, I can look at this diet that I created that I thought would be pretty good. So I did it today, and you can see the foods that I put in there: bread, eggs. This is usually what I do eat. I do like a breakfast sandwich with chia seeds, avocado, cheese, with tea in the morning. And then for lunch, I usually just have nuts and fruit, tangerine, broccoli. Sometimes I have veggies left over from the night before. Dinner, I don't always eat a salad, but I happen to. So I had a large salad with chicken, bread. I cooked the chicken and garlic, and then water. Make sure to add water during the day, otherwise you'll miss points. So this is what I thought would be a pretty good diet for me, and I entered it in here. Then I went to the reports, and I looked at the intakes versus goals. And according to my DRI, I'm only getting 1,552 calories, but my DRI is 2132. My DRI range, the low end of the range, would actually be 250 calories less than this. So I didn't do the math, but it would be somewhere around 1,880 calories. So what that means is my calorie range is still too low. My protein, I am at 202% of my protein. You're allowed to be from 100 to 150% of your protein, but I'm exceeding my protein probably because I ate too much chicken, or I planned this diet with too much chicken. That's probably one of the main sources of protein that I had. So I'm going to have to go back there. Carbs. My intake of carbs was low, maybe because I had a lot of veggies, not that many grains. So I'm not going to get points for calories, protein, or carbs. Calories are worth 15 points, protein 5, carbs 5. I did really good on my fat, hit that at 100%. So that was good. I'm going to get points there. My saturated fat, I'm below 100%, which is totally fine. So my saturated fat goal is less than 23.9. My monounsaturated fat, I had 23.2. So that is totally fine. That's good. My polyunsaturated fat, the range should be, there's not a range there. It should be 23.9. And I did not get that. So I should probably have more polyunsaturated fats, maybe with more nuts, etc. Fiber, I almost met my fiber goal. I don't know why I didn't, but my fiber goal was 25. I got 24.36, so I need to add a little more fiber. And water, even though I added water, I didn't eat that. Other vitamins that we're going to look at calcium. I was at 79% of my calcium, so that's not enough. Only 2,400 of my potassium, also not enough. Sodium, I did good on. I didn't exceed my limit on sodium. So pretty much what this shows is even though I planned what I thought would be a healthy diet, it's not perfect for me. And so I have to go back and change this a little bit. So I know that I was low on carbs, so I'm going to add some more whole wheat bread. And let's see, whole wheat bread, and I'm going to add 2 slices. How about for lunch? So I'm going to add that. I know that I was high on my protein. So I know a big source of my protein was the chicken. And so instead of 6 ounces, I'm going to change this to 3 ounces. I think adding the whole wheat bread will help me get more fiber. So I should have met that. I was low on my water, so I'm going to add more water. And I think I need at least 16 more ounces of water. I was low on my calories. I did just add the 2 pieces of bread, so that probably helped. But I might need to add some more things. So I could add something else. Maybe I'm going to add some more nuts. I do usually eat other nuts. I had dried soybeans. I have almonds. So I'm going to add some almonds. And they're just blanched. Quarter of a cup I'm going to put for snack, so that's fine. And so I made a few tweaks. Remember, my calcium and my potassium were low. So this is the point where you might have to go in the book and look at potassium food sources, calcium food sources, or any food sources for the vitamins and minerals you're low on. I know broccoli is a pretty good source where I get calcium. Cheese is a pretty good source. I could add a glass of milk. I don't usually drink milk, but I could add that just to try to get this diet perfect. I would probably do fat-free, 8 ounces. I'm going to add that. And so I've tweaked my diet a little bit. And now I'm going to go back to the reports, go to the intake versus goal, and you see it's changed. So now I'm meeting my calorie goal because I'm within 250 calories of it. I still have way too much protein, which is kind of annoying. So I'm going to have to work on that. I'm still low on my carb. I'm not within this DRI range. So I need more carbs, less protein. I am exceeding my total fat, probably because I added those nuts. So I might have to take away those nuts that I just added. But then I'm going to have to find something else that's going to give me calories. So maybe I'll add more fruit. Saturated fat, I'm doing fine with. Mono and poly, I think I'm doing pretty good with that. My mono now might be a little higher than my goal because the high end of the goal should only be 1.5 times that. Fiber, I'm meeting my goal for fiber, so that's better. Water, I still didn't add enough, so I'm going to have to go back for water. Calcium, I'm meeting my goal for calcium, so I'm going to get my points there. I'm closer with potassium. Now I'm exceeding my sodium, though. So you see that this is kind of a process, and you have to prioritize which is worth the most points and what you can change to try to get the most points. So I added those almonds for a snack. I think I'm going to probably, I might just change this to 0, or I'll say I had 0.1 of a cup, so less. And I need more carbs, so I'm going to add more fruit. Apple would be good for me. I do eat an apple, so I'm going to add an apple. How about for snack? Add the item. I'm still really high on my protein, so I might just say that I didn't eat this chicken and see what happens there. That will also reduce my animal intake, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to add more water. So I'm going to go back to my water, and 8 fluid ounces. I've got that. I added an apple. Apples are not that high in potassium. I should have added a high potassium food. So I do eat more avocado, but that is too high in fat. I might add more, I do like artichoke. So I'm going to add artichoke. So I know what my high potassium foods are. You may need to look in the book to search for high potassium foods. So I'm going to add this. So now I've tweaked my diet again. I'm going to go back to my report. I'm going to go back to my intake versus goals. I'm still, I don't know if I'm within 250. Yeah, I'm still within 250 of my calories. I'm within 150% of my protein. So I'm going to get points for calories, points for protein. My carbs are still a little too low. My fat is much better. Saturated fat is okay. Mono is okay. Poly is a little bit low. Fiber, I'm meeting my fiber goal. Water, I'm now getting points for my fiber and my water. Let's see. Calcium, I'm still getting my calcium points. Potassium, I'm low on my potassium, so I need to add more high potassium foods such as tomato, banana, artichoke, potato, avocado, and sodium. I'm still exceeding my sodium. So you see that this is kind of a challenge and can take a long time. I think it's a little redundant for me to keep doing this and showing you, but you get kind of the point, is that you're going to have to tweak this multiple times to get it perfect and to get the most points. When you turn it in, you absolutely have to turn in this intake versus goal spreadsheet. I can't grade it without that. So make sure at the very least you turn in this intake versus goal spreadsheet, as well as this diet analysis assignment worksheet. These questions are identical to what you did in part 1. So go back and review that, as well as the answers. Email me if you need help. And here, you're going to write if you've met your goal, if it's too high or too low. So if I didn't change anything about my diet, I could say that I met my calories, I met my protein, my carbs were too low, my fat was, I think it was in goal, I can't remember, etc. So you're going to go through this and look. Some of the things on here you don't get points for, but it still wants you to answer if they were too high or too low. Like my calcium I met, my potassium was too low, my sodium was too high, my water I met. So as you fill this in, my fiber I met, you're going to start seeing where you're getting points and where you're losing points. So this should be turned in too. The empty calorie sweets, I didn't eat any of them. Hopefully you don't either. That makes you have to put none here and 0 here and zeros all through this. So that would be really easy. Animal sources of protein, I had cheese and I did have an egg. But those were my only animal sources of protein. Everything else was a plant source of protein, or bread, if it was made with eggs, might be a combo source. So you would add up the grams in each and figure that out. Okay, I hope that this helped, and do get started early and let me know if you guys have any issues whatsoever. Thank you for listening.